Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Commander's Forge. My name is Andy Bentley, and the Forge is ready for me to talk about Magic, Commander, and anything else while I try and drag this whole mental health thing back to where it's supposed to be. Now, I don't have a whole lot to talk about this week, and as a matter of fact, I don't have a lot of time to talk this week. I've been not feeling the best the past couple of weeks, and to top that off, they've been working on ripping out and replacing the floor in the bathroom, and they only just finished that. But I'm very tired and very worn down right now. So this is going to be a very short one. That said, I didn't get one out last week, so this one's coming out whether it comes out late or not. Now, I do want to touch on the fact that we are only 2 weeks away from the Commander Seal event in Rochester, New York. I am very excited for that. I do have several things I still need to get done before then, but I am excited nonetheless. Now, in terms of other Magic news, I don't have a lot. I did get the Sonic Secret Lair that I ordered in, but that's kind of it. I've been kind of on the DL when it comes to Magic, mostly just because I've been so tired, so out of it, you know? But that said, I've got that tournament coming up. I've got couple weeks to try and get back into the swing of things. But yeah, I guess the main thing here is I'm alive. I don't know how well I'm kicking, but I'm alive. And yeah, that's really the main update. I didn't, kick the bucket. And so, yeah, like I said, gonna keep this nice and short. So I'm actually gonna drop it off there for this part, and then I don't know what I'm gonna talk about when I come back. We will see. And we are back. Now, today I would like to talk about a Spellslinger deck that I built instead of building another deck. So, that is the Black Waltz number 3. So it's 2 a black and a red for a 2/2 wizard with flying, death touch, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, the Black Waltz number 3 deals 2 damage to each opponent. There is one way I thought about building this deck where it's just do everything you can to get lifelink on him and then go ham. That's not the direction I ended up taking this deck. And I built him over building Kuja Genome Sorcerer, which is 2 a black and a red for a 3/4 human mutant wizard. At the beginning of your end step, you create a tapped 0/1 black wizard creature token with whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this token deals 1 damage to each opponent. Then if you control 4 more wizards, you transform Kuja. He turns into Trance Kuja, Fate Defied. It's a 4/6 Avatar Wizard with Flamestar. If a wizard you control would deal combat damage or deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage instead. So, well, Kuja is great in the 99 of a Black Waltz deck. The Black Waltz isn't necessarily an auto-include in the 99 of a Kuja deck. At least the way I've been seeing people build it. So I built the Black Waltz over Kuja. And part of that was because I wanted to do this thing. And I felt like the Black Waltz kind of lent into that more. So it's not just wizards that deal damage. It's all the things that do damage. So we've got a Gutter Snipe in there. which is 2 and a red for a 2/2 Goblin Shaman. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. We've got Electrostatic Field, which is 1 and a red for a 0/4 wall with Defender. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. We have Thermo Alchemist, which is 1 and a red for a 0/3 with Defender. It's a human shaman. You can tap it to do 1 damage to each opponent. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, untap Thermo Alchemist. We've got Kessig Flame Breather, 1 and a red for a 1/3 human shaman. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Erebor Flamesmith, 1 and a red for a 2/1 Dwarf Artificer. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Firebrand Archer. It costs 1 and a red for a 2/1 human archer. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Urabrask is 2, a red and a red for a 4/4 Phyrexian Praetor. It has first strike. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, it deals 1 damage to target opponent. Add red mana. For a red, you can exile Urabrask, then return it to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. Activate only as a sorcery, and only if you have cast 3 or more instant and or sorcery spells on your turn. It turns into the Great Work. It's a saga. When it enters, the Great Work deals 3 damage to target an opponent and each creature they control. On step 2, you make 3 treasure tokens, and then on step 3, until end of turn, you may cast instant and sorcery spells from your graveyard. If a spell cast this way would be put into a graveyard, exile it instead. Exile the Great Work, and then return it to the battlefield. That's a mouthful. Now, it wouldn't be fair to say I built this deck without taking something else apart. And the deck I took apart to do this is the O'Hare Oxenel Deepest Might, which is 2 red for a 4/4 god with trample. And it says if a red source you control would deal an amount of non-combat damage less than O'Hare Oxenel's power to an opponent, that source deals damage equal to its power instead. And when it dies, you can return to the battlefield, tapped and transformed. It becomes the Temple of Power. It's land. Taps for a red, you can pay 2 and a red and tap it to transform it only if red sources you control dealt 4 or more non-combat damage this turn, and only as a sorcery. So, yeah, I wasn't terribly impressed with the way O'Hare Oxenel was playing, so I just kind of took key parts from that and put it into here. Things that came with it are things like Solifim Mayhem Dominus, which is 2 red for a 5/4 Phyrexian Horror. If a source you control would deal non-combat damage to an opponent or a permanent opponent controls, it deals double that damage instead to that player or permanent instead, and you can pay 1 and 2 Phyrexian red mana and discard 2 cards to put an indestructible counter on Solifim Mayhem Dominus. Another thing that's also made its way over from that is Torbrand, Thane of Redfell. It's 1 red for a 2/4 Dwarf Noble. If a red source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent opponent controls, it deals that much damage plus 2 damage instead. And then the next 2 kind of came from a deck that I had been toying around with building. And that is Judith Carnage Connoisseur. She's 3, a red and a black for a 3/4 human shaman. And whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you can either have that spell gain Death Touch and Lifelink, or you can create a 2/2 red imp creature token with when it dies, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. And finally, for the creatures that make up this deck, we have Crick, Son of Yawgmoth. It is 4 and 3 Phyrexian black mana for a 2/2 horror minion. It has lifelink, and then for each black in a cost, you can pay 2 life rather than pay that mana. Whenever you cast a black spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Crick, Son of Yawgmoth. So, yeah, in a nutshell, play more things, do damage. So, the mass majority of the deck is instants and sorceries. And I kind of leaned into things that are just going to roll into being more beneficial for when I cast them. So things like Light Up the Stage, which is 2 and a red for a sorcery, but it has a spectacle cost for a red if I've already had an opponent lose life this turn. I can exile the top 2 cards of my library until the end of my next turn. I may play those cards. So that and any other of the cards I'm about to talk about that just get me extra cards are doubly good because they're, doing damage and getting me card advantage. Things like Crushing Disappointment, which is 3 and a black for an instant. Each player loses 2 life, and I draw 2 cards. But if I have at base just the Black Waltz out, I lose 2 life, everyone else loses 4. Things like Dire Sight, which is 2 and a black for a sorcery, surveil 2, draw 2, lose 2 life. Well, now it's surveil 2, draw 2, lose 2 life. Each opponent loses 2 life, Same with like Blood Pact, which is 2 and a black for an instant. Target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. Ambition's Cost, 3 and a black for a sorcery. Draw 3, lose 3. Then we've got Knight's Whisper, 1 and a black for a sorcery. You draw 2 and lose 2. And it just kind of keeps going. I'm running basically every version of the blacks draw a card, lose life in here that I had laying around that I could find. But I also wanted to just keep card advantage up. So I have things like Laughing Mad, which is 2 and a red for an instant. As additional cost, discard a card, draw 2 cards, and it has flashback. Seize the Spoils is 2 and a red for a sorcery. As additional cost, discard a card, draw 2, create a treasure token. Faithless Looting is a single red for a sorcery. Draw 2, discard 2. It has flashback for 2 and a red. Faithless Salvaging is 1 and a red for an instant to discard a card, then draw a card, and it has rebound. And yeah, that's so much card draw. And now you're asking yourself, well, what do you do when you've drawn all the cards and you really just need to get things through? Well, sometimes you just need to return the favor. It's a red for an instant, and it has Spree. So for +1 colorless, you can copy target instant spell, sorcery spell, activated ability, or triggered ability. You can choose new targets for the copy. And you can pay 1 to change the target of target spell or ability with a single target. So the way I've enjoyed using this in the past has just been, well, I'll pay 3 mana, and I will change the target of your removal spell onto your own thing and do a bunch of damage to you because I've cast a thing. If I have the 4 mana, I can also copy it and get rid of something else with their removal spell. So for, 3 mana to do that, or for 4 mana to kind of hit 2 things, I found the card is relatively good. But no, there's something we need to do a lot of times to win with a deck like this, and that's do it all again. So we are running a good number of things that let us do that. The first thing up is Underworld Breach. It's 1 in a red for an enchantment. Each non-land card in your graveyard has escape. The escape cost is equal to the card's mana cost, plus exiling 3 other cards from your graveyard. And at the beginning of your end step, sacrifice Underworld Breach. So this is just in there if we can get that big mana turn where we can just make a ton of mana. We play this, we start playing the things that let us, draw cards out of our graveyard again. And we're going to be fueling that with a lot of the red card draw because a lot of it's, discard a card in addition to this card to draw a couple of cards. So it's just, yeah, Next up, we have Dawn Warrior's Legacy, which is the reskin of Mizzix's Mastery. So it's 3 in a red for a sorcery. Exile target card that's an instant or sorcery from your graveyard. For each card exiled this way, copy it. You may cast the copies without paying its mana cost. Exile Dawn Warrior's Legacy. But it has Overload for 5 red, red, red. So this is just a, hey, you want to do everything again? Do everything again for free. And finally in this category, we have Past in Flames, which is 3 in a red for a sorcery. Exile target instant or sorcery card for, in your graveyard. Each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard gains flashback till end of turn. The flashback cost is equal to its mana cost. And the flashback on this itself is 4 in a red. And then sometimes when the chips are down and you just need to kill somebody, we are running the Torrent of Hailfire, which is X black black for a sorcery. Repeat the following process X times. Each opponent loses 3 life unless that player sacrifices a non-land permanent or discards a card. And yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell. I'm still running behind, so I'm just gonna call it there. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. All of my links can be found in my link tree in the description below. I would like to thank Ian Foss and Cody Mulvey of the band The Crypt for allowing me to use music for my opening and ending, along with Nate and Erica Jacobs for making my original logo. And I would also like to thank Christina McNichol for creating my new logo. And I'll see you next time.